Welcome to episode 173 of the Band Hive Podcast. It is time for another episode of the Band Hive Podcast. My name is James Cross, and I help independent artists tour smart. This week on the show, we have another three-peat, a very special guest in the form of Todd Barriage, YouTuber extraordinaire and frontman of Theatria. How are you doing today, Todd?
Man, I am doing so good today. How are you doing?
I'm stoked to hear that, and I am doing great as well. It is a beautiful, snowy last day of February, and by the time this episode comes out on March 21st, Todd, you're an AFI fan. I'm an AFI fan. I should say we are reformed AFI fans.
Reformed?
But that's not going to stop me from, by the time this airs, having been in California to see them play Sing the Sorrow in Full, which is an album that you covered the whole thing.
I'm so stoked that you get to see that.
I wish you would be able to join us. First of all, I would love to meet you, but I would also want to share that experience with you.
I had a dream I went, actually, last night.
No way. How was it?
It was pretty good.
Were the screams and Death of Seasons passable?
Yeah, the whole thing was good. Sing the Sorrow, I covered it, right? So the whole album exists in my brain, every single layer of it. So, I would have just dreamt the album audio.
That's fair. And to be honest, I'm going to get scalped by the AFI fans for this, but I would not be upset if they backtracked the screams for that show.
I wouldn't be upset if they offered to fly me out to do the screams.
I mean, that would be sick. I mean, you could always send them a DM.
I mean, I could. Yeah, Jade and Hunter are very, very kind and patient and with their time with me.
That would be amazing. You could have them fly Katie out for the poem. I hope they play that.
She read the poem. I forgot about that till you said that just now. She read the little boy part.
Gibson's voice is deep now.
Right, he's not a little boy anymore. But he was. He was like 9 at the time. No, he would have been like 3. I'm really bad at time. He's 27 now. He would have been 7. It was the easiest math in the world we ever had to do.
He probably would have been like 6 because they recorded it before.
Good call.
5, 6, 7, something like that. I'm really hoping I get to meet Butch Vig. That would be fantastic. Anyway, we're sidetracking here again because the first thing I had written down on this outline was to remind people about the episodes that you did in the past. Because, like I said, you're a three-peat, which you're only the second one ever, and you were the first repeat guest on the show. So your first episode was number 81, from self-producing artist to full-time producer, Todd Barriage of Theatria. And then the second one was number 102, which that was only like 20 weeks apart. That wasn't even 6 months, and now it's been a year and a half since we had you on the show.
Yeah, this has been a big gap.
I know. We got to not do that. You'll be the first quad-peat on the show.
I'm holding you to that.
Please do. Please do. So yeah, number 102 was releasing a song every week, Todd Barriage of Theatria. And you can find those both at bandhive.rocks/81 and bandhive.rocks/102. So that first episode, we were talking about how you were earning a full-time living as a producer who was working with clients. And then a few months later, that second episode, we were talking about how you were releasing a song every single week on YouTube because you had shifted. And now you're back a third time. And you're not doing studio work at all.
So I have a rule. I'll do 2 records a year, only for close friends and only if their songs absolutely slap. Because, I have this skill set, and I want to use it for myself because I'm a very selfish person. But there's certain cases. So in this case, it's the band Pneumonia Breath. The guitarist and main songwriter of Pneumonia Breath was the guitarist and main songwriter of the band Lungless, with whom I did 3 records back in my full-time producing days. So he came to me, and he was like, man, I know you don't do this anymore, but, I've got these songs. No one else will do it.
They're not going to make it sound the way it needs to sound.
Exactly. No one's going to do the job right. And I was like, okay. And so my condition for this record was, if we cover an EP of songs from Metallica's Saint Anger together, I will do this record.
So that's how that came about.
Because it's something we joked about for years and years and years. And then it was around the time the last episode of this podcast came out. I had just put out Frantic, but it's pretty good. That was let's see how this does, and if it does well, we'll do an EP. And it did pretty well for my channel at the time. So it just took us a year and a half to come back around and actually record the other 3 songs we wanted to do.
Still, that's fantastic. And I got to say also, you did that, was it Megadeth cover? No, it's Slayer, Raining Blood.
Slayer, yeah.
The comments on that were so funny. All the old boomers, being like, this is metal. It's it's not supposed to be.
Most of that was Master of Puppets. When I did Master of Puppets, but it's pop punk, that one I had a bunch of death threats, a bunch of boomers, a bunch of just terrible people. I had people on Instagram be like, hey, is this your address? And then they would actually like post my real address, to which I would reply, yes, would you like to get lunch next time you're in town?
That's a good response. I mean, first of all, it's super creepy that they spent that much time trying to find your info.
Yeah, if they're posting my address, they're not asking to confirm. They're asking because they know when they're trying to intimidate me, right? Cool, you know my address, so let's get sushi.
They're probably not even in Canada.
No, they were from like Germany.
The Germans are so paranoid, and I say this as a German. The Germans are so paranoid as a whole about privacy and super strict about, like, if you take a picture in public and like somebody's face is in it, you have to blur their face out.
So to him, this was like the darkest threat he could muster, was here's your home address. And it's like, I'm in Canada. Like, we don't lock our doors half the time. Like, it's...
I mean, there used to be phone books. We're old. Sorry, folks. But phone books used to have addresses in them. For anyone who's like 5+ years younger than us, they probably have never opened a phone book.
There's going to be exceptions. But if you're born later than 96, you've never cracked a phone book open. There's no reason to.
I would say maybe 98.
Somewhere in that region. But the internet was prevalent by 2001. So by the time you were old enough to access information and need someone's phone number, the internet was right there.
True. Maybe my parents were just weird because I always had to look stuff up. You want to like call the hobby shop and see if they have the new baseball cards? Like, go look up their number. This is the name of the store. Call them. So there's like little 7-year-old James calling up the baseball card store being like, do you have Topps Chrome 1996? And now, like, a lot of people in our generation, and we're so off topic here, but a lot of people in our generation are terrified of the phone. I'm just like, it's a phone. Pick it up.
I'm terrified of it. I hate the phone.
See? And that's the thing. Like, I grew up using it.
I don't like the parts of the phone that aren't the phone. Like, I don't like getting texts. I don't like getting emails. I don't like people trying to contact me.
That's fair. I like video chats, though. I like video chats with you. This is fun.
I like chatting with you, but like, I needed the week lead up to this.
Right. The mental preparation.
Yeah. Whenever someone's like, yo, man, are you good to chat? It's like, oh, how's Tuesday?
Right. Tuesday, 3 weeks from now.
There's 3 people on this planet that I will actually just like, yeah, okay, and jump on camera with. None of them are even my family.
I think this is actually a good tie-in to what we're going to talk about because you did that pivot. You're only doing 2 albums a year now. A lot of that was because you found that, at least from my understanding, you enjoy creating content, YouTube covers, more than working in the studio with clients who might not always be the nicest, because you've had some past clients who I understand were not great.
Even with like the most angelic clients, I would rather be making YouTube covers. Just to hone in on the word cover specifically, every now and then people will be like, man, like, why don't you write your own music? And it's like, I mean, I do, but I don't enjoy it as much as the covers. I truly feel I am expressing myself more thoroughly when I am emo-ifying Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit than when I am just writing a diary and putting it out to the world. Because like memes are so ingrained in our culture. I grew up, I didn't have a lot of friends. Like I had friends, but I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't go to parties, all that stuff. So like I grew up on the internet in like the days of 4chan and stuff like that, where it's just like, it's just meme city. Nothing is sacred. Just make something funny. So like my sense of humor and the way I identify with media and art is very much, I like to take something and make it into something else. And that to me is like the most wholesome part of creation, because even when you're writing a song from scratch, cool, there's 7 notes in a key. You're ripping someone off, you just aren't admitting it yet. So at least with a cover, it's honest.
Yeah, I like that line of thinking. And, you know, obviously if artists want to do originals, that's fine. Like,
of course, I'd have nothing to cover.
Right, that too. And your band Theatria, like your original stuff is some of my favorite music of all time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
For me, it's a tie. Like some of your covers, I'm just like, this is the best thing ever. And then other ones, I'm like, nah, listen to Theatria. When you did Some back, Nickel Some or whatever that was.
The Hell song, but it's how you remind me.
Exactly. I love that. Somebody did that on TikTok the other day and like, it didn't sound great. I was like, oh, my friend Todd did this. And somebody else commented and was like, oh, yeah. And like, it was way better. And I was like, I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
That's so good.
I know.
Well, because that's the thing, like TikTok, and I don't use TikTok. I have posted on it. I will periodically post on it, but I don't use it. I don't have the app on my phone. I'll download it for a week at a time until I realize I still hate it, and then I'll delete it. But like TikTok, you make the most mid crap. You take a great idea, you make the most mid version of it, millions of views. And it's like, sweet, you're getting the millions of views, but like, I want to make stuff I'm proud of. Like, this is my life's work. I don't want my life's work to be decided by how much an algorithm enjoyed my stuff. I want to just make the best stuff I can. And so that's why like you get comments like that where, yeah, like some guy did this already and it's way better. Cause like I made sure it was really good. If it's not really good, I won't release it.
If I recall, that was like one of the first things you released. I think it was like the first 2 months you were doing covers.
That was early.
So anyway, all that aside, when you were on episode 102, we talked about the grind that you were doing of releasing a song every single week. And we were totally pushing this like, yeah, you got to get on the grind. And we're both a year and a half smarter and older now. And I think we both now would say, you know what? It's okay to take a step back. And I want to say some people might look at that as giving up. And that's not how I would look at it at all. I think that's finding a healthy balance. So for artists who are in that grind mentality, what would you say to them to help them find a healthy balance in their life between art, work, family, friends?
The algorithm does not care about you. It doesn't remember you. You can give it a song a week or however, whatever the release frequency is, but you can give it what you're supposed to give it for a year straight. The second you miss a day, you go to come back and they've shoved you right back to the bottom. Learning that through YouTube myself just kind of made me realize like, well, why am I doing this thing weekly? Because it started to see if I could. And then I proved that I could. So now that I've proved that I can put out a song a week, why would I continue? My reason really was to see if I could. I proved it. I'm done. We're good. So what's the ultimate goal? It's to make the best stuff and to connect with people in a way that positively impacts their life. And if you're so focused on grinding out content, you're not taking the time to reply to comments. You're not making little bonus extra stuff for your Patreon supporters. You're not actually involved in your own Discord community. There's so much that you lose, not even getting into how much family, how much life stuff, but just in terms of building your own community and honing your brand and your craft and whatever else goes into trying to be a musician or a content creator or whatever else. You miss out on the most important shit when all you do is crank out content because the algorithm demands it. The people watching your stuff care, so put your energy into them. Don't put your energy into appeasing this cold, uncaring, ever-changing, opaque algorithm. It's never gonna love you, man.
I love what you're saying there, and especially something that we harp on the podcast all the time is building a genuine connection with your fans, and that's exactly what you're saying there. The algorithm doesn't care, but the people will. And I think that's a great example because when you have those people that have that connection to your music, the people who are going to share it with their friends, they're going to subscribe. They're probably going to turn on notifications. And so when there's a new Todd video, even if the algorithm doesn't push it, they're going to get that little notification badge. They're going to get the email or whatever. They're going to watch it. And then they're going to share it if they dig it.
If I take a break, often my first video back from the break does better, even though I'm at an algorithmic disadvantage. Because like I'm in my Discord community, I'm letting people know like, hey, like this thing's going on in my life. I can't do this right now, but like I just want you to know like this is a thing I'm working on. I'm excited to do it. I just want to make sure I'm in the right headspace when I commit to doing it. They're in on it. Because in a big way, like this isn't like a facade, like specifically my Discord community. And this seems like maybe an unhealthy parasocial thing, but I don't really care because I've always primarily had internet friends, so I don't see how it's any different. But they're part of my support system. I'm not trying to make it seem like it. And I know that there are some creators that try to make it seem like it. And you can kind of see it when it's not genuine. You can smell it. But it's like, no, like we are doing this. This is the thing we're doing. Like when I'm streaming on Twitch, I'm taking their ideas. It's not just, hey, watch me so that I can get Twitch numbers. It's like, hey, do you guys want to hang out and like we can make a song? It's very genuine. And so when it comes time that I finally, I come back from my break and I release a thing, this isn't just Todd's back with a new video. This is for everyone. It's like, this is a thing we've been making and we all get to finally watch it together. And what that does on the back end, like for the algorithm, this is my theory. I don't care enough about the algorithm to know. But what I think happens is the algorithm just sees this huge spike of all the people that were involved and all the people that helped me and all the people that, I talked to when they had a bad day, or I talked to them when I had a bad day, whatever it is. We have this little event we get to have together and we all show up for it. The algorithm sees that we all show up and it goes, oh, shit, people are really paying attention to this. and then the algorithm will shove it out. And so that's what happened with Raining Blood, but it's super emo. That was a video that came out a little later than it was supposed to. It's like my sixth best performing video of all time in raw numbers. It's my fourth most recent video. It could be in 97th place. It could be that low. It could be 97th out of my past 100 videos, but it's sixth. And it came out a month and a half ago. And it's just because people were excited and they showed up. And I was excited. You're making stuff for people. And I think people lose sight of that.
I agree. And I think especially for a lot of local artists, they make music that they get frustrated because they don't just naturally have fans flocking to them. The key point here that I want to make is you make music that people enjoy listening to. There's an audience for everyone. But maybe if you're doing noise crust punk or something, your audience is going to be 5 people. Whereas if you're doing music that a lot of people can connect to, let's just take a straight punk band, Off With Their Heads. I saw them the other night. They headlined as a duo, guitars and drums only, a 94 cap in Winooski, Vermont, and sold the show out. It was phenomenal. And there's people singing along. I've never seen a band that good play the Monkey House in Winooski. Usually it's local bands or very small touring bands.
Yeah, it's a 94 cap venue.
Yeah. And I've seen amazing bands that Keep Flying played there, and it was great, but there's 35 people. But then Off With Their Heads, who is huge and they've been around for 15 years, they come through and you see the connection that those songs have with their audience. How do I say this without disrespecting anyone? They're not great songs. I love those songs, but they're punk songs. They're not super complex. They're pretty basic, but they're just fun, and a lot of people really connect to them.
That's the most important thing. From a technical level, they're not fantastic compositions, but they are great songs because they are connecting with people.
I like the way you reframe that.
I was just clarifying for you. I knew what you were saying, but words are hard.
I'm going to get canceled at some point for saying something like that. People have tried already for what was it? I said something about it was promoters, whereas the promoters aren't there to promote the show. Because they're not. They're there to front the money for everything involving the show. And the distinction is yeah, they're still supposed to market it, but some artists expect that a promoter relieves them of all duties. They don't even have to post on their own social media about the show. It's no, you have your fans. It's your responsibility to tell your fans. That all aside, seeing that is okay, you don't have to be a technical genius at songwriting to get people to connect with your music. But you know what? You do have to write genuine music that people can connect with. And if you're writing crust noise punk instrumental, you're going to have 5 fans, and that's going to be it, because it's not going to spread, because most people will not connect with that. And if you recognize it, that's fine. But on the other hand, if you have something where you can really connect, Off With Their Heads or what you're doing, Todd, then you build a community around that, and that is how you level up without signing to a record label, in my opinion. Having that community, that support system, I think you said, that is so incredibly valuable, because you can't replace that. That is literally your lifeline. And guess what? It's always better to have something like that than a day job, because if you have a day job and the business goes under, guess what? You had one source of income, that's gone. But you know what? You have 300, 400 people on Patreon who are following you, giving you $3 to $5 a month or whatever. Okay, maybe one of them loses their job. That sucks for them. You lost $5 a month. And hopefully that person will still be in your community and still interact, so you can help support them through whatever tough time it is, if they're still interested.
People have messaged me in the past just to let me know, hey, life sucks. I have to cancel. I'm sorry. And it's why are you apologizing? Life sucks. Do not throw your money at me if you can. And don't feel ashamed. You should not have to apologize because you can't give me money. I'm going to do this whether you're paying me or not.
And they're still going to get to see it on YouTube. Maybe they'll see it a week or two later, but they're going to see it.
Yeah, especially because I'm so bad at hitting my deadlines. It's not often you're getting early shit on my Patreon. I still try. I make an effort. If I find an old demo, or if I get halfway through a song and I can't finish it, I still release it so that someone has it, and it's the Patreon supporters that have it. But I don't have a lot of perks. You're just along for this ride with me, helping me make sure I'm not homeless if you're on my Patreon. There's ways to be good at Patreon specifically. Give them the song a week early, give them the video a day early, stuff like that. Those are great ideas for people who have their lives together. But that stuff doesn't work for me. So as far as I'm concerned regarding that, it's then all I can do is just build a genuine community and hope to God that at some point enough people will believe in what we're doing enough and to understand the like inevitability of capitalism enough to just want to keep the party going. And that's why I refer to it as keeping the party going. I try not to refer to it as supporting me. That is what it does, but it's like it's really it's keeping the party going for everyone.
Right, exactly. If you have to go back to like a retail job at Long and McQuaid or something, which is basically the Canadian Guitar Center for folks who don't know, you're going to hate it. You're not going to have the mental bandwidth to keep doing covers.
If I can't do it full time, I can't do it. It's not like a bratty way. I'm not like folding my arms like, if I can't do it full time, why would I do it at all? It's like, no, if I can't give it all my attention, there's not enough of me left to do it.
I totally understand that. It makes total sense. And I want to highlight on something here that you said a second ago is your Patreons don't get that many perks. And so for all the artists who say, well, what would we do with a Patreon? We can't do that. We don't have anything extra to give. Try it. If you're a band that plays live a lot, give them some live footage. It doesn't have to be great. Set up a GoPro and do like a drum cam and be like, here's a drum cam of one song from our show the other night.
Just a little something. Do a Q&A once in a while.
Yeah. And the people who will want to support you will do it anyway, even if there's 0 perks. You could just set it up and be like, hey, this is donations. You're not going to get anything extra. Or, you could say you're not going to get anything most of the time, but when we drop an album, you're going to get a free download of it for people who still use downloads.
That's my like top tier Patreon perks. You will get mixing videos. They will not be regular.
That's why I signed up.
But when you get them, they're going to be so in depth. You're going to need to set aside your afternoon. Just like every 4 months. Yeah, here's a 90-minute video.
That's the kind of stuff you could sell that as a course.
I could, and I despise that exists. Because I watch a lot of YouTube, right? And it's like, I'll watch, I watched a video last night. I forget the guy, but he's like explaining the Nashville tuning. And the first minute of his video is just like, yeah, subscribe to my guitar course and you'll learn. And it's like, bro, that could just be your YouTube videos. And this guy makes excellent content. Now, I'll name drop him just because I want to take a minute to praise him directly. But Jordan Valeriot of Hardcore Music Studio on YouTube is right now making the best, bar none, no bullshit, best mixing tip videos on the internet. Jordan Valeriot, Hardcore Music Studio, the best mixing advice. If you're listening to this and you're like, I wish Todd made more mixing videos, just go watch Jordan's stuff. It's on YouTube. But I remember I had a conversation with him. This was years back. And he was doing the thing where he'd half show you something and then pimp out his course. This was a very long time ago, but I remember it vividly. I sent him an email and I expressed my disappointment with him. I was like, this is bullshit, dude. If your tips are actually that good, you'll make money on YouTube. You don't need to fleece people for money. Gullible people who think that your course is going to actually make them good when really hard work is going to make them good. Dick move. And so he emailed me. He was very courteous. He was just like, man, I'm really disappointed that you feel that way, but that's given me a lot to think about. And then all these years later, maybe he still does have a mixing course, but maybe he's reformulated how that course works because he's not pulling his punches with his mix tip videos anymore. I watch them, not to toot my own horn. I'm really fucking good at mixing. And I still watch his videos and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great tip. And so I go to do another song and I'm like, I'm going to try that. And inevitably, it sounds fucking good because he's giving the real tips. Because there are some secrets, and they're not secret because there's some cabal of mix engineers hoarding them. It's just common sense being applied, right? It's like, yo, if something needs to be brighter, you know what my secret tip is? High shelf boost, brother. Just circling back to the whole, you could have a course thing. You don't have to. There are avenues to do it, or things like, I don't know if Creative Live is still around. All those Courses Plus, you subscribe to a thing and your course is on that thing. I think those are great because it's like Netflix for learning stuff. People I do vocal warm-ups on YouTube, I watch their videos. They'll be like, all right, here's the scales, here's the blah. And if you want to get more invested in your singing and really up your game, the real advice is sing every day. But what they say is, if you want to up your game, join my course. Link is in the description. It's fucking $249 for 18 half-hour long videos that it's not one-on-one. We're in this information apocalypse where everyone is just fleecing their audiences for the most amount of money possible under this guise of selling courses. And it's like, man, the real advice is do your thing more.
Absolutely. Where I was going, that point is that's a huge perk. Like you could have that as a course for $200-$300, but your patrons get it for what, like $10 a month.
Yes. In my Discord server, there's an Ask Todd. Anyone can come and ask me any question, and I will answer it as thoroughly as I can. So it's like, if you want to see specifically the mix file for my Jeffrey Bezos in 15 Styles video, right? Like that exists. That's a thing for Patreon people. If you want to see like really under the hood of my mixes, that's that. But if you have like, hey, how did you get this sound? I'll just tell you. It's been a philosophy ever since I was a producer. It's like there should be no secrets.
Absolutely. So I had a course called Road Ready, and I'm changing that to a coaching program. This is totally off topic from the episode. We'll get back to it. The reason I did that is all the knowledge in that course is available on the podcast. Like it's out there for free.
You just condensed it and structured it.
Exactly. But what I realized is when I made it into a course, people would consume the content and not do anything. And that's not what I want. I want them to go do the thing. So the coaching program, it's literally like, go watch this video and then do it. And if you don't do it, the next week I'm going to be like, why didn't you do this? Did you have a crazy week? You have a mental roadblock that something's intimidating? Like, go do this. Or if you have a reason to not do it, let's talk about it and let's figure out how you can get this done and what a reasonable deadline is.
I love that. The way courses are being marketed, it's really just a way to like take the knowledge, distill it. You can point to it and say, hey, I made this thing. It's full of valid information, but the purpose of it is to sell the course. But with coaching, you're helping people directly. And that's what it should be about all along. And like those hands-off courses inherently aren't helping anyone because the kinds of people who are buying the courses are the people who aren't putting in the work in the first place.
Right. They're looking for shortcuts.
Exactly. You're only helping yourself by making a course. And there's nothing like necessarily wrong with that. I'm not making like an ethical aspersion on it necessarily, but like you're not helping anyone with a course.
For some people, maybe they think they are and they just haven't realized that their audience isn't into it. But for others, it's just like, this is the easiest way to make money. I'm like, no, like if I do a coaching program, I'm not going to earn that much more per sale and I'm going to spend a lot more time. You know what? I'm okay with that because this is what I love doing. Like I love sharing my knowledge. That's why we have 170 plus episodes of the podcast that like, not gonna lie, I spend about $80 an episode and more now because of the social clips because I pay an editor to do this. I lose money on the podcast. But if I then make money on the coaching program, that helps offset that. I'm spending money to put this out here because I want people to gain this knowledge.
I'm not a podcast guy at all. The only podcast I listen to is this one.
Thank you.
Because this is the only genuine one. Like you're not trying to sell anything ever. You're just trying to get ideas out to people.
Yeah, that's the goal. And even at the end, like right now I have a promo at the start and one at the end. And I think one's for our Facebook group and another is for a free lead magnet. And you know what? Full disclosure, you sign up for that lead magnet, yeah, you're going to get an offer to join the coaching program. But guess what? You still got the free stuff too.
And it's a coaching program. It's not some fucking hands-off video course that like could just be uploaded to YouTube. Like you're coaching, it's involved, you're asking questions, you're having real connections with people.
Yeah, like the program has like a forum and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we can stop harping about the program because we're here to talk about you. Oh, getting so sidetracked with like philosophy of sales. This is why we have to talk more often because then when we sit down to do an actual podcast, we can focus. But so one of the next things I wanted to cover is you signed to a channel network that's kind of like a record label for a YouTuber. But can you talk about that process? Like how did that come about? Why did you do it? What's the benefit of it for you? All that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to be careful how I phrase this. There are people who are much more successful than I am who believe in me. And there are people within that group who also have connections. And so what happened was one of those people who I love dearly, I call him an angel constantly because he is. So if he's listening, he'll know I'm talking about him. Literally every time we communicate, I say, you fucking angel. But he basically wore down his connection at this network, convinced them, hey, this guy's got it. He's really good. He just hasn't made it yet. And I think one of the things holding him back is like he's not making money because bands keep demonetizing his videos. I think he could do a lot better if he had more resources. And so after a week of this back and forth of them basically saying like, look, he needs 12 times the monthly views he currently has before we would even give him a shitty deal, before we would even look at him. He is less than 10% of where we would need him. So this angel wore down his connection, who is now my content manager. This person who is denying me is now my content manager. And they're lovely, absolutely wonderful person, just like for very good reason. This is not a network that just signs anyone. They only work with people who are established to help them have to do less. And so we're running an experiment basically on what happens if you give a small channel, which is me, I'm nobody on YouTube. If you give a small channel the resources of, say, the Anthony Vincents of the world, what happens? And it could hurt me because there's certain different navigational channels now, right? Like it could be a bad move. It could be a good move. So far, it's been all good. So anyway, what happened is my contact wore down, who is now my manager. She sent me a deal. I signed the deal. Usually you need a sync license to use someone else's song with video accompaniment. Now you're in like television territory, right? So this network effectively bypasses that and they get me the licenses so that I can monetize my cover videos no matter what. And they've doubled so far. I mean, I've only had 1 month worth of statements from them so far because it lags 6 weeks because of just how, you know how Spotify works. It's the same thing. It takes a while to process. It appears to have doubled my YouTube ad revenue. If I keep growing, I could pay someone to edit my videos. That's a whole extra day a week I could have that I could focus on making stuff. Or I could pay someone to make my thumbnails. And I haven't done that yet because I'm still figuring out what I'm doing. I'm in a transformational phase right now with my content. But the network essentially, anytime a label tries to say, hey, that's our song, the network gets in the way. They're my bodyguard. And they say, hey, you, that's our guy. And we have the raw files proving he made it. So here's your cut, but off. And they also, if someone uses my music elsewhere on YouTube, I get money from that now. Someone like took a drone and just flew it around the forest to my emo cover of Back in Black by AC/DC. And that's just a video that's on the internet that I would have never seen otherwise. But then I got my statement and they like itemized every single thing. And it was like, wait, what the is this? So like I just copy and paste the title of the video because they don't give me the links. They give me the titles and how many views and how many pennies I got from it. I paste the title into the search bar and sure enough, it's a bunch of trees. I click it and there it is. It's my cover playing. And so it's cool because then it gives me an opportunity to connect with people that maybe wouldn't have interacted with me directly, but clearly are a fan of what I'm doing. So I can just show up in the comment of their video and be like, thank you so much for using my shit. You could have used anything. There's billions of songs in the world. And you chose, for some reason, to use my cover of It Wasn't Me by Shaggy. There's this wrestling channel that's used 3 of my songs. Like local backyard wrestlers slamming each other to the ground to Emo Girl, but the chorus has more than 4 words. But yeah, so that's what the network does. Allow me to monetize my content, which thank fucking God. Granted, like Patreon's still the lion's share of my income. I do not make a lot of money on YouTube. Full disclosure, I made like $370 last month from YouTube. That's not a lot of money. That's 2 days of work. I work all month on my YouTube channel. I finally get paid for 2 of those days. But I'm getting it now where, you know, I would make half that before. They also monetize the videos I wouldn't have known exist and would have no means to monetize. All I would be able to do as a networkless YouTuber would be to claim the video and have it taken down. I never, ever want someone's video taken down because they used my song in the background. That's the grossest thing in the world to me.
And then they're just not going to use your stuff in the future.
Yeah, even pragmatically speaking, we get beyond my bleeding heart, fucking hippie-ass musician self. It's bad business.
Yeah, there's a band that we both love who has done that to you. And guess what? You don't cover them anymore.
The video of theirs that they blocked, I have a network now.
Oh, and you can re-upload it?
I might try it just to see. And then I would have Sing the Sorrow with all the B-sides in one video. No one else has that on YouTube. If I do it, it will come out before this podcast comes out. But I'm going to aim to do it, if I'm feeling up for it, around the anniversary. While people are searching for those songs, that album, that band, oh, here's this. Also a properly recorded version of Reaver's music. You're welcome.
Because it's not online anywhere.
And that's why I need to cover Dream of Waking, by the way. Remind me.
Oh, I would love that so much.
It's not available anywhere, so I need to cover it so it's available somewhere.
That compilation used to be on iTunes, and I bought that one song. They changed it, and you had to buy the whole comp to get that last song. You can get all the other songs, but not that one. And this was like 10 years ago, but I had already gotten that one song before they changed it.
Typical music industry.
I know. They're like, oh, this one band actually popped off. Let's make it impossible to get that song.
This is the best-selling song. Let's paywall it.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, something that we've already kind of talked about was Patreon and Discord and how you use them. But I wanted to ask, what do you see as the most important aspects of each of those platforms to use those platforms successfully?
Discord, I think the most important thing you can do as like the creator or the artist or the whatever you want to call yourself, be there, and whatever kind of environment you would like to exist in, foster that. I like having a positive space where you can say almost anything and no one's going to judge you. You can disagree without fighting. You can feel safe in knowing that you're not going to be discriminated against. You can describe your morning bowel movement. No one's going to tell you that's gross, shut up. A place you can come and say, hey guys, my grandma died. And people genuinely are going to be like, dude, I'm sorry. I've seen instances online of, I think it was like a clip of a dude on Twitch. He asked how someone was doing and asked where they had been because they were a regular in the Twitch chat and hadn't been around for a while. And so he said, hey, so-and-so, how are you? What's been going on? Where have you been? And so the person answered the question, hey, I haven't been around a lot. My grandma died. Or maybe it was my mom died, whatever it was. And the dude was like, hey, you stop trauma dumping, okay? And ripped apart this person. This is a positive space. This is a feel-good zone, and you're bringing us all down.
Don't ask the question if you don't like the answer.
He made an apology video about it that was saying like, no, when someone asks how you're doing, they don't actually care. It's just a way to say hello. And it's like, have you met an autistic person? Because when you ask me how I'm doing, I'm gonna fucking tell you exactly how I'm doing because I take everything literally. Neurodivergence aside, why would you ask someone how they're doing if you don't care how they're doing? Why would you ask them where they've been if you don't want to hear where they've been? So I see instances of that on the internet, and I'm just grateful that I'm able to provide the opposite of that to people. In the beginning phases of the Discord, I considered it like an island of misfit toys. Like, none of us belong anywhere. I get comments on my videos all the time that tell me like I don't look punk enough. Or like, oh man, the song's really good, but your aesthetic's all wrong. And it's like, A, who cares? B, you want to talk about what is punk? How about not fitting the mold, idiot? Like, but then with Patreon, I think just like setting realistic expectations on the outset. My descriptions of what the tiers are, I feel like I'm relatively faithful to them. It's not, you'll get the instrumental tracks. It's instrumental tracks upon request. It's always very like, if you ask for this, I will give it to you. But I'm not going to sit here for 3 days a week and just toil over making all this extra stuff that 2 people want. Because a lot of my Patreon people are there not even for the YouTube videos. Like, it genuinely seems like, and I could be speaking out of turn, but it seems like they're there for me. When I'm not doing well, they're like, bro, don't even worry about it. We're here for you. The content can wait. Every time. I've never posted something like, guys, I'm going to be a bit, like when my dad passed last year. Guys, I'm going to bugger off for a bit. My dad's not well. I don't want to think about anything else. I want to be there for and with him. Nobody was like, no videos? I'm out. And it's a two-way street thing too, right? Like in my DMs, I have very deep personal conversations on Patreon with people that they could have with me probably on any other platform. But with Patreon, I'm not overwhelmed. I will see your message on Patreon. Might take me a few days to get to it because I'm an airhead, but I'm gonna see it. Where if you message me on Instagram, if you're not the 4th most recent people to message me on Instagram, I don't see it. I'm not wading into that. That's not happening. I don't have time to go through the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages I get there. And that sounds like I'm bragging. I feel like a dick when I say that, but it's just the way Instagram is structured. When someone shares my song, that's in my inbox now.
Yeah, that update is so bad.
I can't use DMs. So like my Instagram bio is literally just, I'm really bad at DMs.
That's totally fair. It's too bad that Instagram has added templates for responses, but they haven't let you automate them yet. And the day they do that, that will be fantastic. Like, that could be an option. Somebody tags you in a video or a post. Do you want this as a DM or do you want this as a comment? Because right now it's both, and that's ridiculous.
And maybe that is a setting somewhere, and I just can't be bothered to dig through their fucking 8 panels to find the right place where it would be, because nothing makes sense on their back end.
It's not one that I've found.
Yeah, it's not user-friendly. But to double back to making Patreon work, the people that are on your Patreon are the people that care most about you, and it goes a long way to reciprocate that. And I'm not very good at that. You know, like, I have those messages in the DMs and stuff. But in terms of like making extra content, one fun thing that we did was Scott Ones, which is a Hot Ones parody, where we call him my manager because he manages me as a person. He's not like my business associate manager. Like, he manages Todd. He makes sure that Todd is in a good headspace. He makes sure that Todd is on the right track when he's workshopping ideas. Like, Scott is my manager. I went to his place and we filmed a Hot Ones parody called Scott Ones, using questions submitted by the Patreon. So that was like a fun thing to do. It's like, I get to answer your questions. Also, you get to watch me suffer.
Absolutely. All of this will be linked in the show notes at bandhive.rocks/173. So if you want to see all the cool covers that Todd has mentioned, those are there. If you want to see Todd suffer in Scott Ones, that will be there. Everything will be linked.
The Scott Ones is Patreon exclusive, but...
Got it. Well, the Patreon will be linked. So go sign up for the Patreon. That's easy, which is patreon.com/Todd Barriage.
Help me make minimum wage.
Let me pull up your Patreon here. I was looking at it a second ago. You are earning $4.25 per month.
That's US.
That's US. Okay. What's the minimum wage in Canada?
$15 an hour Canadian. So that would be like $11.50 US.
I've just converted that. $4.15 is $5.78 Canadian as of right now. That covers 38.5 hours per month.
That's 25% of the way to minimum wage. I feel like it's so funny when I signed to the network. So this guy would be my actual like business side managers telling me like, man, you're going to start raking in the money. And I get my first paycheck and it's like less than my Patreon. It's like, I am halfway to minimum wage. Let's go.
Wait, whoa, we're halfway there. Bon Jovi, that's who it is. Yeah, living on a prayer. That's literally you.
Are we ever? Because like right now, it's like I make just enough money to be able to keep doing it. Like, I'm not fucking balling. Like, I buy these like cool shirts so that my video thumbnails look cool. These are bargain bin like $4 t-shirts at some like random shop the next town over, that they just have cool stuff for cheap.
This is off topic from the episode, but finding deals. First of all, I don't know how you feel about credit cards or how credit cards in Canada work, but credit card churning? Dude, I get like 4 new cards a year. I pay them off in full, so I'm not paying interest, but I get all those sign-up bonuses. And that's like thousands of dollars of value. Like, I'm working on international hotels group right now. It's 175,000 points. That's going to be like 4 free nights in a hotel.
Amazing. That's like $800.
I'm putting my regular spending on that card for the next 2.5 months.
And then just paying it off.
Exactly. I'm not spending any extra.
We don't have that here. I've looked into it. It's brilliant. We have nowhere near the perks you guys have on credit cards.
That's a shame. Like, of the last 4 times I've flown to Germany, I paid for 2 of them. And the other 2 times I paid like $150 in taxes and fees. And that was it. We're talking like $800 tickets. I pay $150. It's not for everyone. You have to be responsible with your money. And you also have to carefully manage, because I now have like 11 credit cards. Like, I close a lot of them, but I still have 11 that are open. I use YNAB, which is like $80 a year to just budget everything. But anyway, that's totally aside from the point. That's one thing you can do. But also things like, I just got an email from Amazon being like, hey, you haven't used your Amazon business account in a while. Here's 40% off your next purchase on any items sold by Amazon. Guess what? I needed a new printer. And I was like, I'm not going to buy a printer. I don't like need it yet. Like, the old one still kind of works if I jiggle the pages just right.
You could pay for half of one.
Right, exactly. Here's the other funny thing. I put it in my cart. And it was like $76. And I just got an email. It's like, price drop. This item is now $66. I'm like, so you're saying I can get a new printer for $33? And then I added like extra cartridges, some bass strings, and strap locks. I paid like $80 for $150 worth of stuff, basically. Finding those deals, that is my life. So tell me where this store is, please, and let me know if they ship to the US.
Urban Planet.
Hopefully we have something like that down here, because the shipping's probably going to be ridiculous. But Sick. Todd, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I have one last question for you, which is, what's your plan going forward? Like, what does 2023 and beyond look like for you?
Here's my plan. It's going to be controversial.
I love it already.
I'm going to give a little backstory into it. When I started this YouTube journey, what I wanted to do was make faithful covers of my favorite albums. And then I did one. And then immediately after that, I figured out the sound for the other one and realized that's boring. I don't want to do that anymore. If you watch my YouTube channel history, it was AFI Sing the Sorrow, and then I did All-Star but it's Blink-182. And you can't tell me I didn't nail the toy patch sound. Like, that sounds like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Right away, I was bored, and so I started doing pop punk because I have loved pop punk my whole life and never made it, really. And so I made it for a year and a half, and that was great. Now, I am an emo kid at heart. Always have been. You listen to Theatria, you can tell.
I sent that to a friend like a week or two ago, and she's like, oh, this is really gothy. I'm like, okay, I could see that.
I wear enough black. So my plan then for 2023 and beyond is to take every sacred song from every subgenre, niche, whatever, and I'm just going to make it emo because I love emo so much. And I'm going to do other stuff too. I don't want to burn myself out. I've done Timber by Pitbull and Kesha, but it's emo. I've done Master of Puppets. On YouTube, it's called pop punk, but that's emo. AC/DC Back in Black, but it's emo. I've done Slayer Raining Blood, but it's emo. Next on the agenda is Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit, but it's emo. I'm just going to keep going through, and every song that has impacted me in a major way, in an emotional way, in a memorable way, in a meme way, I don't care. I'm just going to make the world emo, and I'm going to paint it in my little emo image. It's going to be wonderful. That's my plan, is just to make emo covers and have as much fun as I possibly can because it brings me the most joy. And it appears to be the most successful thing on my channel as well, which is just the happiest coincidence in the world. That the thing that brings me the most joy is also the thing that does best. But yeah, that's really it. Just be as emo as I can.
That's fantastic. I am so stoked to see where this goes. Like,
thank you, man.
I love all those covers. I'm just like, yes, give me more. Give me all of the covers. Well, Todd, man, thank you so much for coming back on the show a third time.
Thank you so much for having me again.
My pleasure. This has been such a great conversation. And I think I just want to sum this up and say, like, the idea for this episode was to talk about your pivot and how it doesn't need to be a grind. You have the network behind you. You have that momentum that's starting to build where you don't have to be in the grind.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Artists do need to have a grind mentality, but it's not a forever thing. It's like, hey, do this for a year, build that momentum up, and then take a step back.
Set aside a whole year of your life, go as hard as you can, hone your craft, figure out what works. And that's what the grinding is you're spitting out as much content as possible to figure out what actually fulfills you and gets the job done. Getting the job done, in my case, being views on the youtube.com website. Find that balance, and once you've found it, just chill out. Work at your own pace. Make the best stuff you can. That's really what matters. Make the best stuff you can, and be grateful for the people who show up. I could be making garbage content. I would still be grateful for the people who show up. Without them, I'm nothing. I'm just a dude in his mom's basement making bad covers. With the people, I'm a dude in his mom's basement making covers for you. Without the for you, like, there's nothing. If you're listening to this right now and you're someone who watches my videos, thank you so much for doing that. If you've heard this and don't know who I am and are still listening to me speak right now, please go watch my videos. But, like, you don't have to. I'm not your boss. But you might have some fun. You might find something you like.
Yeah. Before we go real quick, all these links are going to be at bandhive.rocks/173. But Todd, give us the links where people can find you online.
Everything is going to be Todd Barriage, and Barriage is spelled like marriage. So it's TODDBARRIAGE. So you've got youtube.com/Todd Barriage. You've got twitter.com/Todd Barriage. I'm sure there are other ones out there. Those are the two I use. So follow me on Twitter, watch my YouTube videos, and you've got the full scope of Todd.
Sounds great. All right, Todd, thank you so much, man. I hope you have an amazing day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.